I'm loving the pop off.
What's good? Welcome back to the Pop Off Podcast, a conversation show about the National Basketball Association. The NBA is officially back. It tipped off last night, and this is one of the most exciting times of the year for me. I am Ralph Compiano. I am your host. And today I'm joined by Nick Mersch, better known across the basketball social media outlets as Slim Dookie. And today he is joining us on the Pop Off Pod just to talk some hoops, and a conversation of how we're kind of going to run the flow of it is called Call Me Crazy, but where we get some, not hot takes like Stephen A. Smith off of our chest, but just some of the deeper core thoughts that we have about basketball and this upcoming season. And we're going to talk through it. But first of all, Slim, Nick, you ready to get rolling right here, my man?
Dude, I'm excited. I'm excited. Basketball's back. Speaking basketball is back because during the football season, it doesn't happen during the summer. You don't get a lot of it. We had a good summer. We had Olympics. I'm a big three enjoyer as well. I'm a real sicko, honestly. Just like
that's wild. You're like keeping track of the big three.
I kept up with it. I to be fair, I did a little bit of work for him, but like I do enjoy watching like the big three to a degree. It's fun. It's fun. It's happening during the summer. It's like, when you need a fix, it's like, oh man, this isn't the substance that I really, really want, but this is good. This is good in place of the NBA.
Like at the very least, Joe Johnson's calling for an ISO.
Exactly. Michael Beasley, bro. Michael Beasley's very fun to watch still.
Yeah.
He is just still a get a bucket guy.
All right, so we are going to play this little game of Call Me Crazy But, and I think I'll start it off because last night the games tipped off. We had the Lakers and Timberwolves, and then we had the Knicks and Celtics. So I want to start it in honor of what I thought was the most impressive thing that I watched last night. I'm just going to say this. Call me crazy, but if Anthony Davis continues to play like this, he belongs in the same conversation as Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid. He's kind of been away from that conversation the last 3 or 4 years, I would say, especially since joining the Lakers, where when we talk about, leaders for MVP candidates, it's those three big unicorns, Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis. But if AD is going to put up 36 and 16 like he did last night and play with that same level of aggression, I don't think there's any reason that he doesn't belong in that same conversation as those three guys, and also MVP, DPOY consider. Like I was thinking about it last night. Rudy Gobert has 4 Defensive Players of the Year.
Don't get
Anthony
me
Davis
on Rudy, bro.
has a big old 0. Like that is obnoxious to me. I realized that, and I was like, this is disgusting. Like he was the best defensive player on the floor last night and the best offensive player on the floor.
I'm a believer in when I say someone is an elite defender, I expect them to be an elite defender on multiple spots on the floor.
Sure.
Rudy Gobert is an elite, the elite of the elite in one area, and he is below average everywhere else. And it's like, can he be serviceable at times outside of the restricted zone? Yeah. He's a solid on-ball post defender. Not great, solid. He's good. He's going to get cooked by the big boys, Jokic, Embiid. Şengün is going to give him 30 if they just decide to feed him the rock. But he's not switchable. He's not switchable. They baby him in Minnesota. If you watch their schemes, they are like doing what the Hawks do with Trae Young to keep him off the ball, late shot clock as much as possible. They do that with Rudy in Minnesota just to keep him around the rim. But I think I've always said like AD might be the best, and I'll have to use the word on social media, versatile, the most versatile, because people lose their minds. But I mean, that's what I value, switchability. And in the NBA, it's a switch them, like most teams run action just to get switches because guys are really athletic. They get through actions. They know the stuff, they blow it up. And then it's like, okay, well now you just got the switch. And, if you have a bunch of switchable guys on your team, then you're probably going to have a really good defense. But either way, that is nuts to me. That's nuts to me that AD has not won a DPOY. Obviously, is it that nuts because he's struggled to stay healthy? But like you said, if he stays healthy.
Right, and they have like the 65 game limitation now, but I mean, it wasn't just the defense last night. It was, and JJ Redick had talked about this. He was like, "We're going to try to use him in so many different ways on offense." And it's one thing to say that as a coach; it's another thing to actually do it. Like it's a big matter of show don't tell, especially when you have a job with as much pressure as the Lakers job. But they were using him last night as sort of like the Bam Adebayo, Nikola Jokic hub at the top of the key, where they're doing a lot of DHOs with him. They're posting him up a ton, and they were just giving him opportunities just ISO, like he was New York Knicks Mello, where he was just working out of the mid range, which was like, oh, this is just aesthetically beautiful to see Anthony Davis with not just in that capacity, but with that confidence, because he's pretty much abandoned his 3-point shot since he got to LA, and he's been more mid-range master. He's buffed up a little bit, but I was like, damn, this is the best that I've seen him look in actual years. And I thought he was really, really, really stinking good last year. Like he was 27-13 last year. I think he could be like 31-14 or 15 this year if he needs to be.
Yeah, I think last year was him kind of embracing what I'm assuming Darvin Ham was asking him to do, which is just, we need you to be a rim protecting center.
Yep.
And he can do that, obviously in stretches and in spurts in the past. But like we said, he looked different last year. His body looked different. He beefed up his lower body especially, and he was that guy. I think JJ is just like, I love JJ because JJ is a common sense coach. He's a smart guy, but if you can be simple, he's like, well, let's just do this. And my favorite play from last night was when Minnesota went into a 2-3. And Julius, who just got there, is on the left side on the bottom of the 2-3. So rather than, a lot of teams would send a big up to the pinch post around the free throw line to go catch and face and look, JJ's like, well, I don't know if Julius is going to have this right rotation if we go strong side, like almost at the elbow for, I guess, the opposite side of Julius. So he's just like, D'Angelo, just cut there. D'Angelo Russell, get a point guard there who's going to be able to read and react quicker. Runs to the pinch post. As soon as he catches, he's got Jackson Hayes just in the dunker spot. And because the guy in the middle, Naz Reid, had to step up to meet D'Angelo there, and it was just a quick dunk. I'm like, that's awesome. That's JJ. Just common sense, be simple, and also he started Rui. Seems like a no brainer, but.
Are you a Hachimura guy? Just out of curiosity.
I think he's good.
Is he one of your guys? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was definitely big on him when he was in Washington. But I got to see it first. And I don't know. And I'm not going to be one of those, he just needs more minutes guys, but I don't know. I feel like every time he plays, he shows a lot. And even just for his physical tools, on the defensive end, he's not this crazy elite defender, but he's 6'8", 6'9" with a good wingspan too. Not a super slender guy either. He's got a great frame. Yeah. And has all the tools to be a great defender. And I think he is a solid defender right now. But either way, I like Rui. I definitely like the decision to just give him minutes, and I like letting Taurean Prince walk because he's not. He's not a bad player, but he's not going to move the needle for you as a starter. But I think Rui has the potential to do that. So I like that move.
As a founder of LeBronunism, that's my guy. I'm predetermined to be frustrated with the role players that surround him. So in Rui's case, I've had some serious ups and downs in my relationship with him already. And he's only been with the Lakers for, I think, 3 years. But I mean, there's been some playoff series where I'm like, oh, this is Japanese Kawhi. This is wild to watch. We talked about it on the phone last week, how, Kawhi defies reality where he shoots those line drive mid-range jumpers. And it's when I teach basketball, I tell my kids to shoot up and not out because we want to give the ball an opportunity to go up and land through the rim, maybe get some shooter's touch on that thing. But Kawhi's like, fuck it. I'm just a Brad guy, back rim and down. And Rui was doing that a lot. But then there are opportunities where Rui gets them and it's oh, he's not making the most of it. He's not ready for this moment. He might go 0 for 8 from 3 on wide open catch and shoots against the Nuggets. And it's this motherfucker, man, if we just had somebody else. But all right, let's move into the next one. So do you have a call me crazy that you want to get off your chest?
I do, and this one's really hot. This one's really hot, and I've been saying this unapologetically, but I'm gonna put some modifiers around it that are gonna make it a little less hot. But
Okay.
I believe that within the next 3 to 5 years, Cam Whitmore will. Maybe I'll just say will. Screw it. I got pop off, man. I'm on the pot. Cam Whitmore will be a top 15 player in the NBA.
Holy shit. Top 15.
Top 15. And here's my thought process. He played about, and I don't have the stats in front of me, so I'm going to be vaguely generalizing here, but he played about 18 minutes a game last year as a rookie, coming off the bench for a Rockets team that has a lot of young talent that they added to this year. But put up about 12 and a half to 13-ish and 4 rebounds a game. He's not really a passer. I don't think he averaged over 1 assist. But
you're like Rain Man. You just nailed that. It's 12, 4, and less than 1 assist.
I looked at it recently, so it's close. But when you try to compare guys, and especially not only physically but mentally with their mindset, think of Jaylen Brown. And I believe Cam said that Jaylen reached out to him and said, like, hey, I see a lot of you, or I see a lot of myself in you. And I don't know if they worked out together this offseason, but they at least had the conversation. I was like, whoa, that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Jaylen Brown's rookie year, and even the first 3 years, he did not figure anything out for a while. And he was playing heavy minutes, way more than Cam did his rookie year, and for Jaylen Brown as a rookie as well. And then even the next years, Jaylen Brown was playing like 32, 33-ish minutes a game, like a lot of minutes, and still not putting up great numbers. I don't think he averaged over 20 points a game until year 4. But I see Cam, and I think they have a lot of similarities, but I think Cam is ahead of the curve. Like, truly. Jaylen's issue was, one, he was not a fantastic catch and shoot guy or a fantastic pull-up guy. He was an athletic finisher with a lot of just raw potential. And Cam is the same way. And I think the one thing that they both don't have, or I guess Cam doesn't have right now, and that Jaylen didn't have his rookie year, is shift. They didn't have, like, Cam doesn't have a ton of wiggle. He's a little stiff. He's kind of a straight line guy, but Jaylen Brown learned that. He became an isolation scorer, and a guy that you are comfortable throwing the ball to for grenades, just those end of shot clock heaves or whatever. But I just see Cam, I'm like, he's ahead of the curve right now. He's getting better. And both of them also have that similar mindset of, I don't know if you remember when Jaylen Brown got drafted, people were like, bust, like put the stamp on him. He's toast. He's not going to be good. The Celtics blew it with the 3rd overall pick, 3rd or 4th. I think it was 3rd. But Cam was like, he was a lottery talent. I don't think that's up for discussion anymore. Like, he was a mid to late lottery talent. I don't think he should have been the 1st overall pick or even the 5th. But like, if you had the 9th or 10th pick and you needed a guard forward, and you didn't pick Cam Whitmore, you're probably kicking yourself a little bit right now, depending on who you
100%.
picked, obviously. But I'm like, it makes sense. He's got this like chip on his shoulder. He barely went in the 1st round. And like, he's like, a lot of teams passed up on me. And even in his situation now, he's coming off the bench. He's playing 18 minutes a game. Granted, on it, like I said, a very young, talented roster. But if I'm Cam Whitmore, I'm looking at Dillon Brooks. I'm thinking, I can be better than him. I can be better than him this year. And I like Dillon Brooks. I think he's a good player. And he brings some different things than Cam does. But like, in terms of just two-way guys, I'm like, Cam can be better than him. If they want to move into this like younger kind of roster of like, let's go with our core that we got. Let some of the vets move. I think Dillon Brooks survives, but I think you bring him off the bench. It's like, it's time to start Cam. But either way, I like him. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's an incredible athlete. He plays hard on defense. If you watch him on ball, off ball, he is locked in. He plays freaking hard. I love him. I think he's going to be really good. But that's my hot take. Top 15, 3 to 5 years. I give myself a lot of leeway. I don't think it's going to happen like this year or next year, but I think he does take a bit of a jump this year for sure.
I mean, all it has to be is like more opportunity because you're right. He was at about 18 minutes a game last year. Per 36 isn't perfect by any means whatsoever, but his per 36 numbers would have been 24 points, 7 boards. He shot about 45% from the field, 36% from three, 68% from the line, which I'm sure will go up after his rookie season. But I love the Brown comp because you're right, like that. He's so good at attacking closeouts right now. Like if somebody is late to recover and they don't have clean feet, then he's just by them and at the rim. And he is explosive. Like when he goes off of 2 feet, it's like, oh shit. Like the help side defender better watch their head. Otherwise they're getting put on a poster. Like you have to match his verticality because he has that ability. I'd like to see him more as a screener and pick and rolls. I think that could be really effective, like a guard-to-guard pick and roll.
Just like with Pops.
Just like Boston. Like they are so good at that. They'll put White as a screener. They'll use Drew. They'll use Jalen or Jason. I'd love to see Houston do that more with Cam this year because they started to do it with Amen last year after Şengün went down, where they're essentially playing him at like the small ball 5, and they'd use him as a
short
screener.
Roll, make a
short
play.
Roll, make
He's
a play out
finisher.
of it. Yup, the Draymond role,
sense.
essentially, right? So I'd love to see Whitmore in that fashion too. But like the Rockets, like they have what 7, 6, 8 guys where if like I was a Wizards fan, I would die just for one of them to be on my roster between Thompson, Whitmore, Jalen, Şengün, Jabari, Reed, like Tari, like, and they could also have a lineup just between 5 of those guys where if it's Reed Shepherd, Amen Thompson, Whitmore, Brooks, and Tari or somebody like that, like that's a death lineup for like perimeter defense. Like they can trap you, they can blitz you, all of this kind of cool stuff. So they're one of my like most anticipated teams to watch. I cannot wait to watch them, and Whitmore is a large reason because of it.
I've been calling them the new Thunder. You know, just like that. We have so many young, like talented guys that can play. Like, I mean, I think one guy that's finally like getting some shine, and I think he's been good for a while for the Thunder, is Aaron Wiggins.
Yeah,
like, and he's only. Like everyone was like surprised that he had some big preseason games. Like he's been getting buckets for a while. Like he's been very, very good for a while. Trey Mann was just trapped in Oklahoma City, just a very capable scorer. You know, I don't know if he plays like a lot of minutes on any winning team right now, but he can, you know, build a little bit of a pedigree and go to one of those middle of the road teams and be like, hey, I can be your backup one to just essentially play the Jordan Clarkson role of like, might finish some games. I can go get you a bucket when you need it. I'm going to go out there and just be a flamethrower for a while. But
can we talk about Trey Mann for a second, though? Because like he's in Charlotte now and he's rocking
Soulja Boy?
He's rocking the full Iverson fit. Like it's like almost like copy and paste. Like he's wearing the do-rag and the headband. He's wearing
with the baggy ass
snapback.
Shorts. Turn sideways, just sitting on top.
It's like, oh, dude, this guy's cosplaying as Iverson this year. Like, I think that's going to help his game out. Like, I'm like, you know, usually like a very like specifically to ball, like what adjustments did you make in the offseason? But I think some swagger can be adjusted and can impact your game too. Also, he's in Charlotte, so he's probably going to end up with a DUI or something at some point. But like, let's pray that he stays healthy because he's fun to watch too. All right, my next Call Me Crazy. I've got and you know what? I wrote this down yesterday, and I feel like I put something in the ether when I wrote it down because then I saw like a couple of people on ESPN and other outlets like actually say this. Call me crazy, but I think the Orlando Magic are going to be the 3rd best team in the Eastern Conference. I think they're going to be right behind Boston and New York. And after watching New York last night, if Mikal Bridges doesn't fix that jump shot, Orlando could be number 2. Paolo
funny you
in
mentioned
year
that.
3, year 4. Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was just watching Mikal's jumper with the Suns and then comparing it to now, and it's different. But I want to hear your thought first.
Well, all right. So, can Paolo take that next level jump? Because his first 2 years, you know, he's been. I always say that he's kind of like a blend of like 60% Carmelo, 40% Giannis, where he has the physicality immediately when he gets to the league, even more so than Giannis did because he had to bulk up when he got here. And then he's also like a pretty good playmaker. Like they pretty much had to resort to playing him at point guard last year in the playoffs, which was, you know, not the role that I think he needs to play. I think he needs to be more in that isolation scorer, screener, but they need Anthony Black and Jalen Suggs to take a step if he can be that, or Franz even. But I'm also anticipating big leaps from those young guys, just like we are with Houston, like Anthony Black, Franz, Paolo, and I love the addition of KCP. I think that's one of the best additions in the offseason for any team. That is a veteran that is ready to come in, shoot the shit out of the ball, and they just guard. Like, I think you're the same way as me. I predicate defense more than anything else in this league because it's not an anomaly anymore. But if you are going to show up and take somebody's lunch money every single night that you go to their house, like, they're not used to that. They're not comfortable with that because they might be coming off a game against Phoenix, who no, shots at Phoenix or anything like that. They're not going to have the same defensive intensity as Jalen Suggs, Franz, and all those other guys. I'd like to see Wendell Carter get a little bit better too. That's another guy that I love, but I think they have the potential at the very least to compete with anybody in the East.
Yeah, I like that take. I think they're hungry. I think like they really felt like they could have won that playoff series.
Yep.
Last year
against Cleveland.
And one thing, that gap that I still feel like they have, and I don't know if Anthony Black is going to be that true point for this team. I mean, he played the one at Arkansas or Alabama. It was a red team from the South.
Arkansas.
But yeah, I don't see that. And they didn't, I mean, they added, and actually, I'm not sure if he was there last year, but Corey Joseph, is on the roster. But other than that, they don't have another one. They got Cole Anthony still, who to me is a kind of like, similar to what we just talked about Trey Mann could be, is like, hey, go out there and fill it up when you're out there and go be aggressive and sure, make plays, fine guys, but there's no true one on the team. I don't know if Jalen Suggs could become that, but I think they signed Jalen Suggs just because he's a dog on the defensive end. Like, that seems to be their identity, is like, we're going to grit and grind like old school, like Zach Randolph, Memphis Grizzlies basketball you to death. And I mean, hit the nail on the head with Paolo, dude. Like, I remember when he was at Duke saying, I think this dude could average like 14 a game in the NBA today. Like, you could throw him on a roster and give him minutes and he's going to give you 14. Like, he's had a man's body since he was like 17, bro. His shoulders are massive. Like, and that's why I think it didn't take him too long to get comfortable. I think he can still get better, obviously, but like he just looked comfortable very, very quickly. I like the Magic. I like that take.
So 20 points as a rookie, 7 boards, 4 assists. Takes a little bit of a jump in stats the next year. Makes the All-Star team last year. He's at 22.5, about 7 rebounds again, about 6 assists this year. Field goal percentage also went up. He's about 46, and then 34% from 3, which was up from 30% the year prior. If you just compare that to Carmelo in his first 3 seasons, Carmelo was 21, 21, and then his third season, he took a jump to 26.5. That's what Paolo needs to do if he's going to be on an all-NBA team, if he's going to get this team to a 2 or 3 seed in the East, which is, I seriously think it's doable. Like, I don't think the East is as daunting of a task as the West. So if he can get to 26, 27, 28, then that's when I think we're talking about him as, top 15 player, all-NBA team, and a true leader in the East on like a contending team. Do I think they can win a championship? Probably not. But I think they can definitely make like the conference finals. Like, nobody thought the Pacers were going to make the conference finals last year. And anything can happen in the NBA where it's like, Brunson gets hurt and that's it. Like, it's just one hand, the right hand goes down, and then you just have, Indiana all of a sudden playing against the Celtics. They got gentlemen swept. But I think that if, Cleveland loses that series in round 1 and Boston plays Orlando in round 2, I think that goes 6, because I think Orlando is built to guard Boston much better than Cleveland would have done.
That's a good point. Because, I mean, I'm a Mavericks fan, and we were not equipped to guard 2 stud, like scoring, get a bucket forwards. We weren't. And then you threw in Porzingis, and it's just like, that's a whole other wrench you throw into the system. And we just didn't have the personnel for it. But yeah, Orlando definitely at least has the personnel to give them more trouble than a lot of teams do.
All right. Give me your call me crazy next.
All right. Call me crazy, but I'm biased. I think the Mavericks are the best team in the West. And I'll even just say I'm basing it off of the fact that we definitely overperformed last year, but we went to the finals, with a team that I was just like, fire Jason Kidd. Like, this is hard to watch. Dude, and it was something like the last 30 games ish. We just started playing a different brand of basketball, and maybe it was post trade deadline. It's picking up Gafford, it's picking up PJ, and then we go to the finals with that team, and then we get so much better this offseason. I like people know the big acquisition. We pick up Klay Thompson. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, Klay, and then he goes 0 for 9 in a preseason game. I don't care. Luka didn't play. He's going to be shooting wide open warm up jump shots like when Luka's on the floor. You can't either that or Luka's getting 40. Like it sounds like, oh, it's not that simple. It is. It is. There's not a player in the league right now with more gravity than Luka Doncic. There's no, and I maybe Jokic is on the same level, but Giannis isn't there because you don't have to worry about him when he's within the 3-point line, or sorry, when he's outside of the 3-point line. You don't have to worry about it. You can build a wall, but like you have Luka in that Klay dynamic and just having another knockdown guy, and then also you add Quentin Grimes, who a lot of people seem to have. I've found weirdly people have very hot takes on Quentin Grimes and whether he is a contributor to winning basketball. I just see him as you're all in. Okay, I like Quentin. He's a bit of a streaky shooter. But, what better mentor to have than Klay Thompson,
right?
Right there. And then also, I love motor guys, and he is a motor guy 100%. And we have so many of those guys. You lose Josh Green, but who's going to be filling in those minutes for the most part, at least right away? You think, okay, Quentin Grimes, probably. You lose Derek Jones Jr., but you get a very comparable guy to fill in those minutes and also bring you some different things in Najee Marshall. And I like Najee a lot. And one thing that Najee gives you that Derek Jones Jr. didn't give you is a lot of secondary ball handling and playmaking, and a guy that you feel comfortable with coming off of a screen, and he's not just going to get tunnel vision and just throw something up at the rim. And like, well, that's okay. Like you can have guys like that. Having a dude that shot 38, 39 from 3 last year in Najee, and is, I love Derek Jones Jr. He was awesome. He was electric, big intangibles, energy guy. But, when you shoot 35 from 3, and then when you're out of the corner, that number looks a lot different. And that's how the Celtics beat the Mavericks, is they just said, we're going to give them above the break threes, just not in the corner. And then he didn't shoot it that well. And so I think Najee is a plus there. Obviously, Derek Jones Jr. is a better defender, but I don't think it's that steep of a drop-off for all the other things you're getting. And I can keep going. I'll keep going if you want me to.
Well, I mean, we haven't talked about Kyrie Irving, and this is another year of those two being able to develop chemistry together. And we saw it last year, like in the playoffs. Like the regular season, like I think they only have to get to 51 to 52 wins. I think they can save themselves a little bit for the playoffs. This is just an opportunity to build more chemistry with the group that you had last year and then bring in the new guys. And you're not just bringing in one rotational guy like in Klay, like you said. You're bringing in 3 with him and Najee. And Derek Lively, I'm telling you this right now, Slim.
Leaps and bounds already. Yes. I can see it. He has gotten so much better.
So I'm a Duke guy. And when he came into Duke, I was like, all right, this is a rim running big. And I would watch him in high school and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, he has a little bit more to his game than that, but I'm not sure it's going to translate. And it didn't at Duke. And then last year, he picked up all of those, the rotations that most rookie centers really struggle with so quickly, like amazingly quickly. They went out and they got Gafford, I think, is kind of an insurance policy because they're like, okay, we can't play Derek 40 minutes a game, but like if we needed to, we probably could because I think that he can take that load. But I think that this year is going to be a year where, like, we were just talking about, like, guards in the short roll. I think he's going to be effective in both lobs off of the pick and roll, but then also in the short roll, finding those shooters. Because, like you said, nobody gets more gravity than Luka, and they're going to be sending 2 at him when they see Lively set a screen, and then he catches it in short roll, and he can make a play either for himself where he can handle the rock 2 to 3 times, spin move, dunk, layup, hook, whatever it is, or he can kick.
And that's what I think he added. Because I'll say I thought he was already a fantastic short roll passer by the end of the season going into the playoffs. He made a ton of plays for us, especially in the Minnesota series and in the Clippers series, the series that everyone forgets about because we looked bad for like the first 3 games. We looked very bad. And we just kept getting better. But either way, I think and I started to see it in preseason, and it filled me with a lot of hope and promise for him to, if he catches that short roll pass and he turns and faces and there's no one there, or maybe a guy kind of closing out, I feel much more comfortable and confident with him being able to make a play for himself. Because before it's like, hey, he catches, let's find the open guy. It's like, okay, now you're catching, if you see something right away, that's like, of course, yeah, give it up. But if not, go get a bucket, go get downhill, go get a foul, and be aggressive. I think he's added that to his game, or at least taken steps to attempt to add that to his game. And it might not look like he's this polished, face up, go at you from 15 feet out kind of guy right away. But I think we see him at least try to do that and get better. But there's another guy I want to talk about for the Mavericks that I don't really think anyone is thinking about outside of like diehard Mavericks fans. But Olivier Maxence Prosper.
Oh, Max.
We drafted him. Oh, Max. Yes. We drafted him with Derek Lively, got him in the 2nd round, and I was clowned online because I said, I think this guy's the steal of the draft. I think we're going to look back in a few years, and I think he's going to be the steal of the draft. And maybe that's a call me crazy too, but he didn't really play last year. He got hurt, but in the G League, he put up, I believe it's close to 20, somewhere in that 18 to 20 points per game. He shot 40% from 3, 41-ish percent from 3, and averaged, I think, like a block and some change, as well as pulling down somewhere in that 7 to 8 rebound range per game as well. He's going to be good. He's going to be good. He's a little spazzy, but talking about guys that are going to fill in that like Josh Green, Derek Jones Jr. minutes at the 3 or 4, you can play him at the 3. He's going to run like a gazelle in transition. He's going to make catch and shoot jumpers. He shot it well in the preseason. I know it doesn't tell the whole story. It's not this like, let's get really excited about what we saw in the preseason, but after a year in the G playing against guys that are better than Division I college basketball players and not quite at the speed of where NBA guys are, it's still shooting 41 from 3 is shooting 41 from 3.
Facts.
You're shooting from the same distance. You're shooting against similar athletes and defenses and in the same style of play. They're running NBA offenses in the G League. It's not college basketball where you got like a 6'1", 18-year-old white guy like trying to rotate out for Purdue and contest. No, it's like you're getting contested by other 6'7", 6'8" dudes. But last cherry on top, he grew an inch. So now he is reportedly 6'10" and a half with a 7'1" wingspan. And the dude guards too. And he's built like a defensive end. Like I love him. I want him to play. I think he's going to play. We're very deep. So like his opportunities will probably be limited, but Dante Exum is already hurt. And granted, that's not his position, but that just leaves a little more minutes to be had in other spots. And also, I mean, shoot, I didn't even talk about Jaden Hardy, bro. He's been on a tear in the preseason. He's proven that he can score it. But either way, I gotta let it rest.
Max, like I'm like the biggest Derek Jones Jr. fan. I was in love with him on that team last year, and it was mainly because of his chemistry with Luka on like those transition or backdoor lobs.
Oh yeah,
and I think this is why Max is why that Dallas is comfortable with letting Derek Jones walk to the Clippers, because they're like, we have a guy with a similar body archetype as you, similar bounce. I'm not sure if anybody has Derek Jones Jr. bounce, but like he definitely is a little bit bigger, longer wingspan, all that kind of stuff. He's such a fascinating prospect because it's like he went to 2 colleges. I think he was at Clemson, and Marquette is where he got drafted out of. Yeah. So he's been, changing environments the last few years, and then he probably anticipated coming in and contributing to the Mavericks right away. But they're like, no, we got to put you on the G. What is it, the Texas Outlaws? You're going to be in the G for a little bit.
Legends. Shout out to Texas Legends. Shout out Frisco.
Shout out to Texas Legends. Shout out Frisco. But now, like, he's actually in an opportunity where, you know, there's going to be some games this year where I think Dallas is up, 20 going into the fourth, something like that. And he's going to get a lot of tick. And I tell my players all the time, every minute counts. There's no such thing as garbage time. This is an opportunity to show J Kidd, and more importantly, show Luka that they can trust you. And if they can trust, like, what is he? He's 22, something like that. Like, still a young dude, still on that rookie contract. Like, those rookie contracts are so invaluable. Like the Jaden Hardy extension, like, what was it, 3 for 19 or something like that? Like, that's a steal and a half.
Crazy. I mean, I thought he was we got great value from a second round pick getting him, because he was like, what was he? I think he was the number 1 recruit out of high school, and he went to OTE, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, either way, he was a highly touted recruit out of high school, goes to the OTE or was OTE or the G League Ignite? It might have been G League
Ignite. Yep, it was Ignite.
Yeah, but like had a solid year. Didn't have like a Jalen Green type. Like he looks like he's just like a terror out there, but was really good and just it's never been a question that he can score. It's just where does he exist in this Mavericks rotation and lineup? How does he coexist with guys like Luka and Kyrie?
Well, when Luka and Kyrie are out, like that's when I think it's going to be like, all right, it's Cam Thomas time for Jaden Hardy. Like, what is Jaden Hardy the Dion Waiters of Kyrie Irving's? Is that his comp? Like, to borrow one of your?
That's great. That's great, bro.
I don't think that's terrible. All right, my next one. Call me crazy, but if the Pelicans aren't at the very least a top 4 seed in the West by the trade deadline, they should become sellers in this market. All right, hear me out. You can go one of two ways of this. This is like our 4th year of this Zion, BI, CJ experiment. And now you're introducing DeJounte Murray to the mix. We talked about it on the phone last week, but they have constructed their roster to the point where they're actually seriously going to have to start Herb Jones at the 5, which is a disservice to our guy, #NotOnHerb. I love Herb Jones. Let Herb Jones be Herb Jones. Don't ask Herb Jones, who is the best at what he does, to do something else. Let him just do that. Okay, let's play Trey Murphy at the 5. Let's play literally anybody else at the 5. Because right now their centers are Daniel Tice and is it Yves Misty or something like that? I can't remember the other back.
Yeah, Frenchman.
Misty. Like they have to either be big time buyers and go get a trade. I've shopped this idea around of like maybe it's a swap for Jarrett Allen, maybe it's Trey Murphy and picks, maybe it's Brandon Ingram, one of those two. But like, let's go get Jarrett Allen. I think that fixes a lot of their problems, but not all of them. But let's say just like in a hypothetical wonderland, they are 20-32 by the time the deadline rolls around. I think you have to shop these guys, and I think it's rebuilding time because they still have a ton of picks at their disposal. And I don't know, man. I'm not sure the city of New Orleans is meant to be a basketball city, especially with Zion down there having all the jambalaya in the world at his disposal. To his credit,
Jumbo Z, baby.
He looks pretty good right now. Like his body looks good, but I'm just hoping he can stay in shape through the whole season and he doesn't get tempted by the Wendy's at 2 a.m. anymore. Because in the past that's been like the story with him. But I'm
all the Coke, like the 2-liter bottles of Coke. That was the report that he's just had like 1,000 2-liter bottles of Coke.
Has there been a worse branding matchup than him in that Mountain Dew commercial? He looks so fucking fat playing 2K next to Zach LaVine. Like it's like that commercial, like where it was like, this is what your body looks like on drugs, and it's just the girl deflated into the couch. That's what Zion looks like if you just pumped her all the way up. She's like the Willy Wonka chick that ate the blueberries. Like it's ridiculous. So I just need him to stay in shape and hoop. Because I don't know what to think of this team. I think it's just a mesh of like a lot of talent, and I don't think the talent really fits together. I'm really curious to see how the DeJounte and CJ backcourt works because we talked about this. DeJounte has traditionally been a 1, and CJ's traditionally been a 2. And last year, they were both asked to play the inverse of that role, where DeJounte was essentially the shooting guard in Atlanta, and CJ was asked to be the point guard of New Orleans. So I think that there's some promise there, but then I'm like, where does BI fit into this mix? You know, I'm the biggest Ingram fan there is, but I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on the Pelicans?
Yeah, I liked what you said about CJ. And you talked about it with Herb. It's like if a guy is really good at something, don't ask him to do something else that's going to take away from him being able to do what he's good at.
Common sense.
And yeah, CJ proved in Portland that he is an awesome Robin to a point guard as a 2. He's great off of actions because he's a fantastic shooter, off the catch especially. I mean, he's solid off the dribble, but where he is going to make his money as an NBA player is shooting off the catch, whether it's off of action, whether it's off of feeding off of another guy that has a little more gravity. And they've played him at the 1 for the past like 3 years, however long he's been in New Orleans. And I think they've tried other things. They've tried Dyson
Alvarado, Dyson.
Alvarado, yep. And I think Jose's a good point guard, and he is the type of player you need there, but he doesn't have the physical tools and ability to play more than like 15 to 18 minutes a game. I think if Jose's playing maybe 20 is all right too, but if he's playing like more than 22 to 25 minutes a game, like there's just going to be multiple moments where they're going to like, all right, let's lock in, let's get the switch, let's find someone to just back down Jose and get a bucket.
Yep.
And a guy like him, you can only be scrappy and you can only do that for so long before 1, he's exhausted, and 2, everyone's aware of it. That's the kind of guy that's good in spurts, and he's going to give you his best in those short spurts. But
great point.
Adding a point guard is like, okay, now, that gap is filled. And, granted in the offseason, they lose JV. And, I think they want to be a run and gun team. And while JV's a great player for, a team like an Orlando, I would have loved to see him in Orlando, a team that they're not going to try to run a ton. They're going to play defense and slow it down a lot. They're going to run a little bit when they can. But I like the idea of going small. I think on paper, maybe Herb is your 5. I like you said, I like Trey Murphy there more because he just has the physical, like he's just a bigger body. His shoulders are more broad. He's a little beefier. Shoot, if they had Omax, I'd tell them to put him at the 5.
Yep, right.
They have the plan B, and I think maybe it is a thing where it's like it's matchup specifics. Like, okay, if we play the Nuggets, the Sixers, or the Bucks, Zion's our 5.
Yep.
We just need someone a little beefier to go out there and be able to bang bodies with a Jokic or a Giannis or whoever. But it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'd like to see them try it at least, just because, like, hey, if you're gonna try it. But like you said, there's a lot of pressure right now. They have a new GM. Their old GM is in Detroit now, and new GMs usually kind of want to shake things up. A lot like new owners, but usually they go about it in a smarter way than a new owner. Matt Ishbia is like, let's go get KD and Bradley Beal and trade the best young core in the NBA, along with a ton of picks. But yeah, I would not be surprised to see them as sellers this deadline if it doesn't work.
I also just want to see more like we talked about Cam Whitmore earlier. Jordan Hawkins is a guy that I love. Like all of these guys that come out of UConn under the Danny Hurley system, like I just have an immediate attraction to them. Like I want to see Cam Spencer play for the Grizzlies. I want to see Tristan Newton play for the Pacers. And I want to see Klingon just completely take Ayton's spot as the starting
Steph
center.
Castle too, bro.
Castle in San Antonio.
I love
actually
Stephon
forgot
Castle,
about
bro.
A stud. Hawkins is like, I think like catch and shoot wise, movement shooting. Like I think he has the opportunity to be a top 10 shooter in the league straight up. Like he shoots the shit out of the ball. And he got like 9 minutes a game last year, something like that. Sorry, 15 minutes a game.
They don't play him, man.
Well, there's just not enough room in the rotation. It's like, and you know what they did this offseason? They also drafted Antonio Reeves, the guard from Kentucky. And then just like 2 days ago, they signed Brandon Boston. And it's like, guys, like wake up. You have enough wings. You have enough guards. We don't need more of those. Go get a center. Like, is Harry Giles available? Like, let's maybe give him another opportunity. Just go get somebody else.
Harry Giles needs another shot. I know you're a Duke fan. You're bringing up Harry Giles, bro. I still believe a little bit, bro.
Or fucking sign Boogie from Puerto Rico. Like, let's get Boogie back in the league. Like, at least like give me like some kind of crash
DJ
test.
Burns Jr. out of Taiwan, man.
Sure, something like just anybody that can bang down low. So we'll see what happens with the Pelicans.
They were a good rebounding team, though. I know we can move on, but like they rebounded the ball very, very well, and I guess part of that's JV, but like
and Larry Nance
all
Jr.,
their wings,
who was in the DeJounte
he's a great
trade.
rebounder.
Yeah. Like he was playing critical minutes for them in the playoffs in that Oklahoma City series, and he was like, I don't know, one of the 3 or 4 best players
small
on the
ball
floor.
5.
Yep.
That's your small ball 5. Like I don't like Herb, maybe Trey Murphy, like, but that Larry's better than those two dudes at doing that. But regardless,
yeah, he's in Atlanta now. All right. Do you have another Call Me Crazy?
You know, I had it in my head. Oh, here it is. I think in 3 years we're gonna look back, and I think by the end of this year the question will start being asked, because the thought off rip with the Timberwolves Knicks trade was Knicks got better. They won the trade. I'm not so sure. One. So I guess my Call Me Crazy, I got to get that out before I start getting into it. I think we'll look back and we'll think differently about this trade, and we'll say, wow, Minnesota actually, that was a smart move by them. I think Minnesota realized that they can't win a championship with a front court of Cat and Rudy Gobert. And I also think they're regretting that Rudy contract a little bit, because I think they're like, wow, we could probably plug in a lot of guys to this Finch system that they've put around Rudy, and we can get similar value and save a ton of cap space. But I think they realize we gotta shop one of them. And who's the more shoppable guy? It's Cat, for sure. You know, it's a 3-point shooting league. Rudy's really one-dimensional. The contract is just a little. I mean, he's a valuable guy and he creates a lot of value, but it's a when you boil it all down, it's a bad contract. It's a lot of money for a guy that gives you one thing at an elite level, but it's one thing. So they're like, okay, we got to shop Cat. And I think that's kind of their way of hedging the bet, in a sense, for gamblers out there. If you're like, wow, this got us this far, I don't know how much further it's going to get us, so let's try to get something for him. And I think New York, they got a bad contract in Julius Randle. They were like, we would love to offload this. But I think they gave up a little too much. I think Dante is probably, I mean, I want to throw this out, just throw out a number, a top 5 guy coming off the bench for you in the NBA. I'll just say that. I think he proved that in the playoffs this year. Like, if Dante DiVincenzo is coming off the bench for your team, you're probably in a really good spot. Now, when you look at the Knicks, you lose that huge rotational piece. You add Mikal Bridges, sure, and hopefully he figures out the jumper. I'm just going to assume that Mikal Bridges is going to be Mikal Bridges, and he's going to be good. He's going to figure it out, whatever. You lose Hartenstein. Mitchell Robinson is out indefinitely, I believe, was the report. I don't know if anything's come out since a few weeks ago, but as far as I've seen, it's still indefinite. Your starting center before you get Cat is Precious Achiuwa, and the next guy after that is Jericho Sims. And we all know Tibbs. If for those of you who don't know the kind of coach Tibbs is, look at Josh Hart's minutes last year. Look at Isaiah Hartenstein's minutes, especially just in the playoffs. He's a hard-nosed guy. Like, he's essentially just a motherfucker of a coach. Like, if anyone's played for it, like a crazy coach, like that's him. And he's probably going to turn it up a few notches more than the craziest coach you ever played for. He hates Cat. We know this. He coached him in Minnesota. And like, they butted heads. He's like, I don't like, it was very obvious. It was well known. He didn't like him because he's soft. He's mentally soft. He's physically soft. Like, we know this. He doesn't like Cat. And then they trade for him. And it's funny. I Googled as soon as the trade happened, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This feels like a owner GM didn't sign off with the coach before they made this trade. And there's an article that came out right after. So they had the PR ready. So maybe Tibbs did know, and it was like, whatever. But an article came out like a few hours or maybe the next day. It's like Tibbs being like, oh yeah, we squashed the beef. We're cool now. I'm like, well, Cat's still the same guy. Nothing changed. So now your center rotation is Cat, Precious Achiuwa, and Jericho Sims. And you've lost the formula that got you to what should have been the Eastern Conference Finals last year. You're an Eastern Conference Final caliber team. You don't have that anymore because you lost your rim running center who played like 35 plus minutes a game. You lost Hartenstein, and instead of replacing that, you've completely changed the formula.
Yep.
You added a soft, sure floor spacer who's going to add a different element, but like you didn't need that. You didn't need more spacing. And guess what? You traded one of your best floor spacers for him. So like you're equal there. You add another floor spacer, but you still don't have a rim protector, rebounder, like tough rim running center. And it's just, I'm like, team needs is big for me. I think like a lot of people look at just, let's go get talent. Let's go get pieces. It's not 2K. Team needs is so important. If you want to play that hard-nosed style of basketball, you need a rim running gritty center. And they just still don't have it. And I, conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat. I know I've been yapping. I'm going to wrap it up. But in that preseason game, Dante DiVincenzo looks over his shoulder behind him. Tibbs is at the scorer's table, and he says, "Can't finish, right, Tibbs?" After an and one, or something like that. I think it's an and one. Yep. He says, "Can't finish, right?" And then someone says something to him from the bench. So he turns from here to here and is looking forward. And I mapped out the angle, and he's looking at the assistant coaches. He's not talking to a player. And someone says something to him. He says, "All right. Okay, all right." And then he says, "That's what happens when they let you run the show." He says it twice. He says, "That's what happens when they let you run the show." All looking forward. He's not talking to Tibbs. What assistant coach is he talking to that's running, quote unquote, running the show?
Maybe the point guard's dad?
Yeah, maybe that guy. Maybe the franchise player's dad who also beelined to him after the game and had a bone to pick. So I think that Daddy Brunson, who was a big part of getting Jalen to New York, they hired him as an assistant on the staff before they even signed Jalen Brunson. And I'm a Mavericks fan, so I know that was a big part of it. Those were the reports. It's like, yeah, Rick Brunson was instrumental in getting Jalen to New York. I think Daddy Brunson threw his weight around a little bit and tried to put his GM hat on and said, "Hey, we need to go get this guy. I think we need this guy. Talk to my son. I think we need this guy." And I think they folded. They wanted to keep Jalen Brunson happy. They're not going to upset their franchise player. And I think that Rick threw his weight around and made that move. And I don't think it's going to be a good one long term.
Let me take it one step further because I love this kind of stuff.
Please.
Jalen Brunson hosts a podcast called The Roommates with Josh Hart. What if his co-host on that podcast is Dante DiVincenzo? Does Josh Hart go to Minnesota perhaps? Do they not want to break up that duo? Because if spacing is your issue and you're choosing between Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart, it feels like there's an obvious solution there. You deal Josh Hart. And I'm not, this could be a call me crazy, but I'm anticipating instead of a step forward for Brunson this year, a little bit of a step back for Brunson this year. Now, that might be an overreaction to last night because he's getting guarded by, Derek White and Drew Holiday. So he didn't look quite as efficient or as effective. He had 22 points in 24 minutes. So he's still going to get his. But 1 rebound, 2 assists. He's never been, like you watched him in Dallas, he's never been a Halliburton-style point guard. He's always been a score-first guard. He is not a facilitator. He's not a run-your-offense guy. So I don't know who that is in New York. Like, I just don't, like, is it Miles McBride? Isn't that either? He comes in and he fills it up. Like, is it Bridges? Is it, I don't know who it is. Like, I thought DiVincenzo could do that for you. Maybe Josh Hart is doing that for you, but I'm just not sure because right now they don't have I'm not sure what their identity is now because last year it was beat people up, out-physical them, wear them down, and then beat them in the fourth quarter. They gave a 132 to Boston last night in opening night. Like, you got to come out with some sense of pride and be like, all right, we're holding these guys at least below 115. They cannot be getting in the 130 range because that has to drive Tibbs fucking nuts because that's what you started this with. Like, Tibbs is defensive guru. He was the assistant coach on the Celtics 08 team. Kevin Garnett's probably his favorite player of all time. Cat's probably his least favorite player of all time. If KG is your favorite, then Cat's probably your least favorite. It's like they're two. It's completely opposites. So I'm not sure, man. I'm high on the Knicks to a certain degree because I think they figured these things out. I think they have a lot of talent. I like Tyler Kolek. I hope he gets some play. But I don't know, man. I'm not a Cat guy by any means. Everybody that's ever listened to the show knows that. I can't stand the motherfucker.
Yeah. I. It's funny. And I had something else to say before. This was going to be my afterthought, but I forgot, and my afterthoug's in front of my head now. But guess who out rebounded Cat last night?
Jericho Sims?
Yeah. Cat had 7 boards. Jericho had 9. And I know that Tibbs loves rebounding, but I remember my first thing. You know who kind of was their hub in the offense last year?
Hartenstein.
They ran so much point action, split screen, off ball stuff with Hartenstein catching and facing and making plays out of that. And now you don't have that. And I don't think Cat's incapable of being able to learn that. But right now, that is not the case. He's got to prove it to me before I'm like, okay, this might work. But either way.
He's a big body Brunson. They have a lot of score first guys. I think they figure it out because you just have too much talent at the wing between Bridges and Anunoby. But again, they lost a lot of depth. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. It's going to be an exciting season. At the very least, basketball is better when the Knicks are good. Basketball is better when the Lakers are good. That's just the way that this world works. When the Spurs are good, when the Bulls are good, teams like that, and both of those teams are going to be good. All right, this is my last one, and this might be my hottest one because I don't think a lot of people even watch one of these guys, and a lot of people have been talking about one of these guys a ton. So call me crazy, but if Jamal Murray, the point guard of the Denver Nuggets, and Anfernee Simons, the point guard / shooting guard for the Portland Trailblazers, just did a Freaky Friday type of location swap, the Nuggets would be better off. All right, hear me out. In their last 2 seasons, Murray has played 124 games. Simons has played 108 games. Their averages: Murray, 20.5 points per game, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 47% from the field, 41% from 3, 84% from the line. Okay, 47, 41, 84. Pretty good splits. Simons, 108 games, 22 points per game, so just about a point over, 3 rebounds, about 2 boards less, 5 assists, 44, 38, 90 splits. Jamal Murray has been playing with Nikola Jokic the last 2 seasons. He has been, at the very most, the second guy on other teams' game plans defensively. Maybe the third guy if MPJ is somebody they're really concerned about. Simons is always the number 1 guy on another team's defensive game plan. They're not worried about Scoot. They're not worried about Jeremy Grant. They're not worried about Ayton. They're worried about Simons. I'm a guy that plays 2K a lot. I play on Hall of Fame. I play against the computer. Anfernee Simons will give me 60 points in a game. I'm not even shitting you. He's unbelievable. Now, I'm not saying 2K translates to real life, but this is a guy that can fill it the fuck up. He played under Dame. He played under CJ. He's learned a lot, and he's still really young. All right, he's 25 years old, and he's making $26 million this year and $27 million next year. Jamal Murray, on the other hand, is 2 years older, and he just signed a 4-year, $208 million extension. He's getting Patrick Mahomes money to be the second best player on the Nuggets. Last year in the playoffs, he was 20 points, 4 boards, 6 assists, and his field goal percentages dropped way down, largely in part to Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards guarding him. But he was 40, 32, 92. All right, 32% from 3 in the playoffs is not going to cut it when you have to be the Robin to Jokic's. Jokic isn't just Batman. Jokic is fucking Superman. All right, everything is easier playing in an offense with Nikola Jokic. It's the same way that Kyrie took a step up playing with Luka. Jamal needed to be playing like Kyrie last year, and he's done that in the past. But after the kind of FIBA rule change where defenses are allowed to be more physical, he has not responded well at all. We saw it in the Olympics. He barely got anything off the entire Olympics. And I anticipate that again this year, unless they go back to kind of the touch foul bullshit. And I'm hoping that they don't. I hope that they let the game remain physical. But I think that if they just 1-for-1 swapped, I think that the Nuggets would be better off. And I think Simons would jump to 27 points per game just because he would get the easiest looks of his career.
Yeah. And, talking about gravity, like I did with Luka.
Yep.
If there's a guy who's in the same world in terms of having gravity and making defenses kind of have to focus on you a little more, but also being able to find dudes and just keep guys on their heels, Jokic is the guy.
Yep.
I mean, and I would even say that players would get better playing with Jokic more so than they get better playing with Luka.
Yep.
Just because Jokic is going to take like the highest percentage play at any given moment on offense. That's the way he is. Luka's going to take some bad ones. He's going to have some awesome passes. He's going to make a lot of simple, plays. He's still going to have, 9. He's still going to average like around 10 assists a game. But Jokic is always, if you're open, he's going to hit you. And I think that Jamal Murray has been a beneficiary of that in his career. I mean, I'm not going to say, he would suck without Jokic, but I think you're right. It does look very different. And it's so funny. I think Anfernee Simons is one of those guys that everyone just forgets about because he's in Portland.
Yep.
Like, everyone's like, oh man, what do they got in Portland? They just got Scoot. I guess Ayton's there. And it's like, no, Anfernee Simons is still putting up like 22, 23 a game. Like he's still very good, but I wonder, do you have his contract up? When is he out of that contract?
Next year. So this year and then next year are the last 2 years of his contract, and Murray signed that extension. So that's why it kind of came to mind. I'm like, all right, Jamal is getting, prime Harden, like Steph money right now. Like I love Jamal Murray typically. Haven't loved him as much the last, 9 months, but it's been ugly. And that's like a real concern for me because I really like watching Denver play. Like I do. Like I like watching, but it's two different styles. Like the Jokic and Luka comparison is so interesting because I think Jokic dribbles like an average of like 2.5 times per possession, while Luka dribbles like 12 times per possession. It's just a totally different game. Like the actions are totally different. Like Jokic is, doing dribble handoffs, and he's an elite screener, which frees up all of this oxygen for Jamal coming off of that DHO. And then Luka is creating it, like he's DHOing himself essentially, just setting people up, and then people are coming over to trap or double, whatever it is, stunt at him, and then he's just making you pay. So it's two totally different kind of like environments. But I just think if Simons I just want him to get traded to contender. That's really what this is about. I just want to see Simons on a good team playing meaningful basketball.
Yeah, if Portland's trying to sell, if they're really trying to we just got to go full blow up rebuild, like that would be an interesting guy of like, hey, let's find a place where you want to go, trade you to a contender, and see if they'll if you can work it out to where like, yeah, we'll extend you as soon as the trade happens. Cool, do it. That would be interesting. If not, he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid this year. He'll probably still get paid in an extension if he gets traded.
Orlando, San Antonio, one of those two teams. I would love to see him with a Paulo or a Wemby, somebody like that.
Oh man, Orlando. That's very interesting. That could be awesome. Now, then that Cole can just be the backup. He doesn't have to be this like he's playing kind of starterish minutes. It's like, nah, just let him play backup minutes and let Anfernee run the one as a bit of a scoring guard for sure, but still like someone that you have to be worried about out there, because that was their issue. Was I say every NBA fan thinks their team needs more spacing and more shooters, but that was Orlando's issue.
All right, do you have any more Call Me Crazies that you need to get off your chest?
Dude, I'm just about exhausted. I'll throw out a take. I don't think it's that crazy, but I'll just say I think San Antonio will be in the play-in this year because they were bad last year. But I think that they have enough. And I think that it's just gonna. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, yeah, they got so much better, whatever. Like, I just think Wemby's gonna be like, he's gonna be good enough to just elevate them. Like, essentially, LeBron taking that bad Cavs team to the final, not bad, but like that very average Cavs team to the finals. Like Wemby's going to do the same thing, but just to get his team to like the 9 seed, just play a playoff game at least.
Does he make an All NBA team this year?
Yes.
What team? I'll give you the teams from last year. The third team was Devin Booker, Stephen Curry, Halliburton, LeBron, and Sabonis. The second team was Brunson, Davis, Durant, and Kawhi. The first team was Giannis, Luka, SGA, Joker, and Tatum.
I think he makes third team. And whether he deserves it or not, I mean, NBA awards are dumb. They're just so dumb. It's, who votes on NBA awards?
Journalists.
Nerds.
Yep.
Nerds do. Guys that didn't play. Like, that's why Rudy Gobert has 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. It's just because, like, well, the analytics is, it's like, dude, He's wearing cinder block shoes, man. How and it's the eye test, and at the end of the day, as determining value, whatever. It's like that is not the change the name of the award. Then change the name of it. Guy that provided the most defensive value according to advanced analytics. That is not the defensive player of the year.
That doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah, branding, whatever. But either way,
guy that provided the most value according to defensive analytics. I love that. That's an award that we'll give out at the end of the year. We'll just give it to Herb every year.
Yeah. Hey, it might be Reed Shepherd this year. The nerds love Reed Shepherd.
Yep.
Reed Shepherd passes that's where me and the nerds handshake emoji.
Yep.
It's like he passes the eye test and he's an analytics darling.
Wemby's per 36 last year, 26 points, 13 boards, 5 assists, 4 blocks.
Oh my gosh. Here's a very niche, call me crazy. Sandro Mamushkavelli, however you pronounce his name. I think he's going to play rotation minutes for the Spurs this year.
Oh, sure. The Spurs guy. Okay.
Mamu. I love Mamu. Just has hung around. I watched him. I was watching a Seton Hall game to watch Miles Powell play, and I was like, who is this giant European dude playing on the perimeter and got a bunch of tats and has guard skills and shoots it, gets downhill, and I was like, oh, it's Mamu. And sure enough, he lasted in the NBA longer than Miles Powell did. So
yeah, he did. Miles Powell out the league. He's probably over there balling in Europe somewhere, filling it up. All right. Well, this has been the first edition of Call Me Crazy on the Pop Off Pod. This has been fun. I appreciate it, Slim, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Everybody else, thank you for tapping in. As always, we'll have Rent Money out tomorrow and then NFL picks on Friday. So make sure to lock in for that. But really, it's basketball season. Basketball season is here. I'm a huge NFL guy, but I get a little bit distracted once this type of season comes along, and I cannot wait. This is one of my most anticipated seasons in a long time. It seems completely up in the air. So before you get out of here, Slim, I need your championship prediction and your MVP. I need your MVP and who is going to play in the finals and who's going to win the finals. And if you want to sprinkle something on top of it, your finals MVP. So I did this exercise with my players last night. A bunch of kids voted. Some of them are idiots. Some of them took Steph for MVP and Warriors to win the championship because that's the generation that I work with. But other ones are smarter. A lot of people taking SGA, Celtics to win the title. I've got SGA winning the MVP by 3 votes over Luka, just because I think the Thunder are going to win 62 games. And then I have the Celtics repeating as champions. And I think that they beat your Dallas Mavericks again in the finals. Again? Yes.
Ooh. All right. I'm going to go Luka MVP. No bias. Just, not biased at all. Raw thoughts, obviously.
35, 11, and 9.
I'm going. Wait, what'd you say?
35 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists.
Oh. Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
The scoring was just unprecedented this year. I don't get it, but I'll have Luka as my MVP. I will have, just to show I'm not totally biased, I'm going to take the Nuggets winning it all over the Celtics. And a little just fun something, Reed Shepherd, Rookie of the Year, plus 700 future right now.
Love it. Taking it.
Might just be free money.
Yep.
I don't know if you're allowed. I don't know if you have any sponsorships that will allow you not to say free money, but it's a good bet.
Yep, I'm in on that. All right, thank you guys for listening. Those are our picks. Make sure to follow Nick and Real Hoop Hours on Spotify. You guys are dropping when?
Launching this week. Shooting for Wednesday. Traveling this weekend. Plan on Wednesday. If you want to be notified, follow me on Instagram at Slim Dookie Hoops. Join the broadcast channel. That's where we just lay out all the info. Slim Dookie Hoops.
All right, we'll plug that into the bio as well. All right, thank you guys for listening. We will see you on the other side. Peace out. I'm loving the pop off.